Good tidings, everyone. I know things look a little different. We're all in our homes, but I had to call an emergency recording video. After we recorded episode 2, some big news happened. I have it on good authority. You two went to see the teaser trailer for Superman on the lot, and I had to press y'all about it, okay? Because I'm a little jealous, but I'm also very curious.
I mean, this is the nice thing about living 10 minutes from Warner Brothers. I can just hop over there anytime I want. No, we were invited earlier this week to see the teaser trailer. We watched it twice in a huge theater back to back. It was kind of amazing. And then afterwards, James Gunn came out, David Cornsweet, Rachel Brosnahan, and Nicholas Hoult had a Q&A. We got to chat with them afterwards. We missed you, Frankie. We really did.
Yeah, I'm a hater.
I thought about you a lot after I got home, but
we were going to Photoshop you in. We were going to bring like a cardboard cutout and put you in the photos.
I was just going to say I need to print a to scale model. If only so David Cornsweet could stand by it, hug it, and say how much he loves me.
Recognize your face. I mean? Yeah.
Exactly. And initially, when I saw there was a teaser trailer event, I wasn't really worried about going because I don't watch trailers.
Yeah, famously.
Famously, I do not watch trailers. But this looked really exciting. Now, Tyler, you've always been very fancy, and I know you've been to a lot of like events on the lot. But how was this? This was your first like comic book trailer event,
Well,
right?
yeah, not only that, but it was the first time I've ever gone to see just a trailer in a movie theater. You know, like usually I'm like everybody else. I see them on YouTube or in front of a movie because I'm going to see a movie, not because I'm going to see a trailer.
Yeah.
So like the idea of going in person to a theater to watch something for like a minute and a half was sort of insane to me. Luckily we watched it twice, so it was a good 3 minutes of content. But we were there. I mean, it was like a good 45-minute conversation. It was pretty insane. And I got kind of emotional during the Q&A, which we could talk about. But
did Coy keep it together? How was?
Yeah, did you hear me yelping out?
I heard someone yelp out, but it wasn't you. I recognized somebody else. Yeah, surprisingly, his head did not explode. He's still here today.
I've hosted trailer events before, and this one was special. I hosted the biggest trailer event to date until this one, and Tyler and I want to talk about it for sure, had some of the most amazing, revealing, emotionally responses I've ever heard in a Q&A. Tyler and I do Q&As like weekly, and there was some stuff in here that really was like revolutionary for my thoughts on characters.
Yeah, Q&As normally feel like TED Talks, kind of, where it's like, it's not pretentious, but it's just like, let's talk about it. But I feel like there's a genuine love, excitement, and like this film itself is pushing out a lot of hope. Like, even the little flash tease that we got from James Gunn on Monday, was it Monday
The
or
motion
Tuesday?
trailer, right? Yeah,
the
I think it was
motion
Monday.
I was like, this is what Superman is supposed to inspire. Yeah. Everybody was like, wow, I love James Gunn. I love what's going on. I love what we're seeing. Did you feel that while you were watching the trailer?
Yeah, I mean, Coy, you talk about the trailer, because I mean, you had much higher expectations than I did.
It is hope. The trailer, like, look up is such a perfect tagline for the experience that is a trailer. And one of the things I love that James Gunn mentioned a number of times in the Q&A was that the main goal of the trailer was to capture the feel of the film. Sometimes trailers can be misleading. Sometimes trailers can be just to sell something. Sometimes trailers can be for the purpose of trying to truncate an experience, to emotionally manipulate, to get a certain feeling out of the audience. This, he wanted to be a film moment and to encapsulate the feeling. And if that's the case, and I have no reason to believe it's not, this was so much grander and more emotionally exposed than I ever could have dreamed of. Like, I knew it would be huge in scope because it's Superman, but this is it's like looking up and seeing gods like in an Alex Ross painting the whole time. It's like looking up and seeing beams of light that like affect how you believe humanity can be for like rapid seconds of pure emotion. And it's just got this incredible beating heart that is what humanity can be. Like, it gave me hope as a person, and it's not like a long runtime, but it's pure light. I can't even, it's wonderful.
Wow. I'm surprised to hear this.
the hope element, I mean, that's what really got me in the Q&A. I'll tell you this part, Frankie, and this might make you feel jealous, but there's someone in the audience.
Jealous
yeah,
already.
yeah,
I'm
sure.
not
yeah.
jealous
You're keeping
already.
it together. No, someone in the audience asked David Cornsweet, was like, what was the experience like of putting on the Superman suit for the first time? And he was like, honestly, and I've been thinking about this for days. He was like, and this is like the magic of movie making. Like, this is like the glamour is not there. He was like, I'm an actor. Like, I'm playing Superman. They built the suit on me. Like, I would go in for fittings and like they'd put stuff on me, take stuff off. But he was like, I did get the experience of watching other people see me for the first time as Superman. Like, kids would come to set, like the Cruise kids would come there and they'd be like, that's Superman. Rachel Brosnahan was like, I was crazy. Like, at the end of one day, like, I was so exhausted and like I looked over and David walked out of his trailer as Superman. He was like, you're fucking Superman. Like, what's happening here? And then James said something, and James was like, you know, when we were working on the costume fittings, the entire time I was like, are the colors too bright? Is it too like cheesy? Is it too hokey, like old fashioned? Like, he's wearing underwear on the outside of his pants. And James said, David turned to me and said, it's because he's an alien and he doesn't want kids to be afraid of him.
Wow.
That's why he dresses like this bright figure, you know, that looks, I mean, maybe today can look a little cheesy because we've seen it so many times and like it does feel old fashioned, but at the end of the day, it's like the old fashioned superhero. He's like the one who started it all to me. And like the idea that like it's because he wants to make people, especially children, feel safe and comforted. I don't know. That to me, like,
Coy, I think we got him. I think we got him. We got Tyler.
Do you see how happy he is? Do you see this glow, this glee?
Yes.
That's the trailer, but I also want to speak to outside the trailer, even if it was just a 45-minute Q&A, either if they just gathered us there to sit and hear about the movie. I have never, and this is part me being a Superman fan and part me being a movie fan, I've never watched a Q&A where my brain kept shifting between, oh, that's David Cornsweet, oh, that's Superman, oh, that's Clark, oh, that's Nicholas Hoult, oh, that's Lex Luthor. The way they answered questions was as actors, but their answers were so essentially the character that it felt like my brain was slipping between. Like, David Cornsweet would pause and think, and he and I had an amazing conversation about the size of Superman, and he referenced certain Frank Quitely art, he referenced Tim Sale art, but he also talked about his big brother being 280 pounds and 6'8". So he was saying how he'd move around and try to find a place for him to physically be. Like, he'd always feel like he was out of place. But then David Cornsweet bumped into someone while we were talking, and I got to see Clark Kent go, oh, I'm so sorry, and then shift back into David Cornsweet. Nicholas Hoult talked about how he might be the right thing for humanity. Rachel Brosnahan was talking to a bunch of journalists, and she kept telling us how we as journalists were her into Lois Lane and how she found Lois Lane through that. We talked about like Marvelous Mrs. Maisel and the pentameter of what it is to speak as a journalist. That's that much fire. Like, these were the actors, but they were also who I see as Superman, Lois, and Lex. And I could not be more excited.
Well, let me tell you, I don't normally watch trailers just because I feel like sometimes I'm spoiled and I'm neurotic. So I will set up expectations from watching the trailer. Like, this is what the film is going to be because this is in the trailer. But honestly, you guys are making, especially since Tyler seems like a Superman fan now, I feel like I have to watch it. That, and I got a DM the other day when I mentioned I didn't watch trailers. Hi, Frankie, new fan and follower. I love your energy on the DC Studio Showcase. I saw that you don't watch trailers, and while I respect your reasoning, I'm sorry to say that it is now your responsibility to watch the Superman trailer as our new DC girl. You answered the call. Now lock in. So I'm going to go ahead and lock in. I'm very excited to see it. I know you guys have seen it, and I'm just, even though I'm jealous that you guys went without me, the fact that we got Tyler on board with Superman and we got you excited for a DC project is what we live for. So I'm so excited. That's why I called this meeting, to see where you were sitting, okay?
Yeah, well, so, here I am.
Be sure to check out the teaser trailer. You can find it everywhere now. It's incredible. I'm going to watch it and give my thoughts on my page. Yes, Coy's excited, right? Because we
I'm gonna
already
watch.
know Coy's gonna watch it, and you've already put out your thoughts everywhere as well. So be sure to check out Coy. You could find us. You could find me at Fantastic Frankie. Frankie is spelled Frankey on all platforms. Coy.
You can find me at Coy Jandro, also covered it at Real Rejects. I made 3 videos on my page, but I was saying I can't wait to watch you. I'm excited to watch your videos.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
find my page, find Real Rejects, but watch Frankie's because she's going to watch a trailer.
I'm gonna watch Frankie's first trailer.
This is a
So
moment.
excited. Well, thank you guys for humoring my FOMO. I feel good, and now I can kick this back to the episode. The reason why we're all here, episode 2 of DC Studio Showcase. So stay tuned and enjoy the show. What's up, everyone? I'm nerd commentator Frankie Smith.
And I'm entertainment journalist Tyler Coates.
And we have our comic correspondent and comic book expert, Coy Jandro.
And I cannot wait for today's episode.
I like that. I like that energy because we're definitely going to get into it. And welcome to DC Studio Showcase presented by Max. Every episode, we are going to discuss and dissect all the latest and greatest from DC Studios. So let's get into it. We got a lot going on. We have our special holiday theme.
Yeah,
If you guys
I love
notice,
it.
we got
Cookies?
cookies.
They're
Are
so
they
cute.
edible?
Uh,
I was gonna say, are you gonna eat it? You're a resident.
yes.
Yeah.
Confirm.
Good to know.
I'm not dead.
You're not
Actually, This
dead.
is really good.
We're
See how
providing.
things go in like 40 minutes.
Tune in the next segment, but I
Yeah.
feel good about it.
You may be
It tastes like the nostalgia I have for the logo.
But today we got a lot going on. We're going to talk about episode 3 and 4 of Creature Commandos. You guys both watched it?
Yeah,
Sweet.
of course.
We're going to have a look back at The Penguin.
Yeah.
So excited. It's one of my favorite shows that is out right now. And it's the holidays. So we're going to talk about our favorite holiday stuff. I love the holidays. I don't like the cold, but I like to be cozy.
Okay.
Are you a
yeah,
holiday
like,
person?
Yeah, by a fire.
I
you have,
live
like, a
in New York
DC
City.
blanket?
I have a Batman Snuggie that has little ears on it.
Okay.
But DC should send me a blanket. I agree. Let's get that going, you
Yeah.
know? But yeah, let's get started.
Let's kick it off.
You know I'm excited.
The world of Creature Commandos. We got episode 3 and 4. I'm like, this stuff gets me amped. You know what I mean?
Now, how do I know? Well, let's just say the proof is in the pudding. And the pudding, ladies and gentlemen, is my next guest, G.I. Robot.
Why am I pudding?
A lot of things happened in these 2 episodes. We got the origins of G.I. Robot.
Yeah.
Cersei, I always want to say Cersei, but
Cersei.
Cersei got apprehended finally. And I don't want to say died, but because I don't know if he's sentient or not, we'll talk about it. But G.I. Robot is killed in battle, and Weasel gets to be the hero.
And
So
then we
it's so
launch
good.
into Weasel's origin story too, episode 4. I'm going to say something that's already controversial because I
Yeah.
know you two and what's going to come up with Coy. Episode 3 is my favorite.
Episode 3 is your favorite?
Whoa.
I
okay.
really liked that. I liked
Can
G.I.
I-
Robot a lot.
Can I tell you?
Yeah.
Me too.
Oh, wow.
So it's just Coy.
I'll be over here talking about 4 in a
Let
few
him
minutes.
talk
Yeah,
about 4.
we'll
We'll get
talk
to
4.
that. Yeah.
But no.
No, I loved G.I. Robot. I thought it was really fun. I mean, you know, it's hard to say that that's subject matter that's fun, but it was really
Yeah.
fun. I love the idea of a character who's sort of like stuck in one place while everyone around them
Yeah.
is still like moving along
Yeah.
as history and time evolves. Frankenstein's sort of the same way.
Yeah.
But I feel like G.I. Robot, because, you know, he's literally a robot. He's like been programmed to do one thing, and that's what he does really well. So much so that it becomes like
Yeah.
comedy.
Yeah.
Which like that's what I love about like TV comedy. I think like playing on a character's I don't know, like deep inner characteristics that just never change.
I agree. And what I loved about G.I. Robot and Sean Gunn's performance is I felt like there was so much nuance in his like monotone, consistent tone.
Yeah.
And I was honestly amazed. I love that they put clothes on him
Oh,
and
is he
then took
not
it off.
normally
No. I
dressed
mean,
he's normally naked.
no, it's not that. I love that when he was a soldier, he had a uniform
Okay,
on.
yes.
And so
Oh, I see what you're
immediately
saying. Yeah,
they
yeah.
made us bond with this robot.
Right.
Because, you know, he had on the cute little clothes and he looked like a toothpick in
He
them.
looked handsome in a soldier suit.
I agree. And I
Yeah.
feel like that was very important, especially during like World War II, where it's like, you know, how do you look and, you know, making sure that the people at home can see what we have.
I mean, it's very patriotic.
Yes.
Like, you know, and that, I think that he represents like that specific era and time too.
Yeah.
Like when like, you know, everyone was rallying behind this one kind of like shared objective, which was
Exactly.
like kind of win this war and like kind of reset everything. No, I thought he was really fun, and like a fish out of water, I think is always a fun storyline. So like, again, like someone who's kind of stuck in this perpetual like World War II era
Yeah.
that never changes for him. And sometimes history repeats itself, and it's nice that G.I. Robot comes back to save
was
the
very
day.
consistent.
Yeah.
And that was kind of my point. Like initially they have him in a suit, and then when they decommission him, they take his clothes off. And the first thing that guy does to connect with him is put him in clothes again.
Right.
And I think that's such a humanizing thing. And we'll get to Weasel. I think that's another reason why Weasel is so disturbing, is because he has like these humanoid, you know, features,
Yeah.
his height, the way he stands, but he's butt ass naked. And so like to put him in clothing like kind of humanizes them.
Yeah, that's
in
true.
a
I
way.
feel like Weasel would be a very different character if he was wearing pants.
I think so too. Like if he had on clothing,
Like
I
Dobby
think
the
it
house
would
elf. He
change
got his
it.
sock. Like Dobby got his clothes. And he's
Exactly,
like, that's
yeah.
humanizing.
What I love, that I have a question for the two of you.
Okay.
They mentioned it after he does that presentation where he receives the award, that he has some semblance of, I don't know, AI, of intelligence, of artificial intelligence. And when he scans the audience and he's like, are any of you Nazis? And he's like, that's exactly what a Nazi would say.
When everyone's like, no, yeah.
Yeah, everyone's like, ooh, we need to decommission him. I took it as a joke, right? Because after the guy who like was working on him or brought him there was like, people don't appreciate his sense of humor.
Right, yeah.
And I took it as like he was joking. He had been around guys who joked around all the time, and he took on what dark humor was and was like, let me do it with this audience to loosen them up. And even like we see moments of
Crowd work.
and it just didn't land.
I personally took it as a threat, and the humor came from us seeing the threat as funny because we're nervous.
I
like
agree.
it's a
Yeah.
like, you know, like when you nervous laugh at like like I think he was serious, but it is a joke in the show. It's
Yeah.
just the robot wasn't joking. The joke was, oh no, what's gonna happen? Is how I read it.
Have you checked all these people's identification cards?
No, we haven't done that. Why would we have done that, G.I.?
To see if there are any known Nazis. If so, they will be dispatched of in short order.
I agree. I think like, again, like I think the inherent humor
Yeah.
of him is that he is stuck.
I feel like he had goals, and there was something there. Like
The AI was brought up as something evolving that we couldn't quite pin down. I see what you're saying.
Right. Even in that final battle where he's fighting, and I don't know if he's dead or not.
Right.
Because do we say? Because then we can't say he's dead if we don't think he has feelings, right?
Yeah,
I feel
he's
like
not human. Yeah.
you're right. Then
Was
he
he ever
just
alive?
broke. Right.
He's broken.
He's broken.
Yeah.
But even during that
Take him
time,
to the
I felt
repair
like
shop.
he was. I felt like he was like finding purpose. You
Right.
know what I mean? Like he was like,
On
I
his
just like killing
way,
Nazis.
yeah.
That's just what I'm here to do.
Yeah.
Now, there was a very cool character.
There's two characters I got to talk about. The first of which is huge. In my opinion, Sergeant Rock is a formative part of the original era of comic books in general. Sergeant Rock was one of the first, like, comics come from a place of escapism and telling important stories and getting the word out there. And in wartime, comics are usually like a huge way that's approachable financially. Like they're intentionally like the idea of pulp comics and the idea of like getting the word out. Oftentimes you deliver comic books to people overseas at war. Sergeant Rock is a huge character for that era
Yeah.
of comic books, which kicked everything off. Sergeant Rock is in this episode in that platoon. And then also this guy named William Magnus, I believe his name is Dr. Magnus, invented the Metal Men. And the Metal Men are, I think, going to be important later on. So we get both of those OG characters from DC, like legacy, in one flashback. And I love that world building for the greater DCU.
You getting the hang of this, Tin Man?
Most certainly, sir.
Good. Me and Easy been through this more than a few times. Just follow our lead.
The big fight of this episode, because there's always a big fight.
There's always a fight.
Is the full team of the Creature Commandos versus Cersei. I love saying it that way. I'm sorry. But I think that it's such a great way to scale. We were talking about power scaling.
Power scaling, yeah.
And you see that Cersei is like nothing to fuck with, right?
Right.
Like all of the Creature Commandos have to come together and jump her.
Yeah.
And I love watching a team jump somebody. You know, like why are we
When they deserve it.
when they deserve it, but also
not like just
like-
on the street.
what is honor
Shopping.
when we're protecting the world? You know, like why are we trying to be honorable when the world is at stake?
Right.
Let's go ahead and jump her. You know,
Okay.
let's go all in. And I cannot get enough of the fight style, the fight choreography, and the sound design in every single fight. I'm like, I don't know. I feel like I'm watching real people squabble.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Who just happen to be out like radioactive as well,
Right.
or with gills on their.
So we're like at Area 51 and
Yeah,
they're
yeah,
squabbling
this is fine.
there. This is
Yeah.
fine. This is fine. But let's get into episode 4.
Yeah. Which I know, Coy. I mean, you're like.
Giddy. Look at it. Look at him. Look at
I
it.
think it's one of the best episodes in comic book adaptations.
That's nuts.
What
Ever.
I consider The Penguin one of the best comic book adaptations in long form ever, and I consider episode 4 one of the best singular episodes in comic book TV.
My brother in Christ, have you seen Batman Cape Crusader?
Oh, we're gonna talk about
X-Men
Batman.
97.
We got Christmas stuff to talk about. Worry not. Batman
s-
will be discussed.
Let's go over the
You want to talk about it
summary
fair
of
enough,
the
fair
episode,
enough,
and then
yeah.
we'll get into why it is the greatest of all time.
I'm like a Hot Wheel
clearly.
car winding up. I'm ready. I'm ready.
So we got the Weasel origins this episode. Now that we effectively jumped Cersei, she's been apprehended,
Right.
and they're questioning her. And we get a blossoming friendship between Rick Flag Sr. and Frankenstein. It's funny. So let's just get it out the way. Let's talk
Yeah,
about
come on.
why this is the best
I
episode
see
of
you looking over here like,
animation.
is he just gonna go? Is it gonna happen?
I just see Coy's like,
I know, I'm like, thank God he's on the other side of the room because he
The energy.
could-
I'm Dr.
energy.
Phosphorus.
He'll
I'm
burst
radiating with glee.
Yeah.
because we both think
Three.
three
was
is
our favorite.
Yeah, it's our favorite out of the two, but you're saying this is not just better of the two, it's the best of all time. This is the
I'm saying it's
GOAT.
in the conversation for best episode of adapted content for a few reasons. Okay, so comic books to me are comedy and tragedy, just like any, theatrical art form. And the thing that makes comics different is the Trojan horse of morality and ethics within this elevated system. So you use characters like Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman to tell stories, but they've got this shine to them. They have this extravagance. Creature Commandos is doing that at a 10 here because it's giving us drama with Weasel's terrifying story, and it's so powerful, so emotional without him being able to speak. That's so elevated. It's also world building because it ties into the Suicide Squad, and I'd be fascinated to know just how much of that origin was written when they said he killed kids in the Suicide Squad. So
Yeah.
it recontextualizes, it world builds between live action and animation, and it broaches into comic books because Weasel's there. So this changes everything. That's 1/3. Second third,
Oh my God.
comedy. The comedy between Frankenstein and Rick Flag Sr. is second to none because it shows the laissez-faire attitude of Rick Flag in that this is another day at the office. It gives us so much world building around Frankenstein that he sees everything in an 11. He sees, are we best friends? Versus she loves you versus I have to kill you because I'm jealous. He never knows anything but My Chemical Romance level emotion.
The bride and I have nothing going on between us. She's not my type, and I'm not hers. Okay?
She's everyone's type. So are you.
Well, thank you, but no.
And I love that all of that comes through this relationship. So drama and comedy, now we have the comedy between the two of them. So we've got that already settled. And then Easter eggs. The reason comic book content, I think, connects us so much is there's a feeling of, I got that reference. There's a feeling of like community. There's a feeling of I've invested personally, me, Coy. I've been reading comics since I was 2, so I've got 30 plus years of love and passion. So the moment I can see a flash forward of the first canon appearance of Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, alongside the Titans, alongside Peacemaker, alongside Vigilante, I get to see Starfire and Robin and Superman all at once in an episode that has drama, that has comedy. This is what comic book can be. This is what TV can be. This is what storytelling can be. It is perfect TV.
There you go. Now everyone's happy, right? Except for you, because you no longer have food. And you're ugly.
You did not convince me.
Wow, damn.
Did they convince you?
I mean, I can easily convince. The most recent thing that someone tells me, I'm like, that sounds
That
right.
sounds
That
good.
seems like
you know,
facts.
it's
Yeah,
because
so
you're not
hit it.
burdened
Yeah.
with the knowledge of
The
like
30 years
Sullivan,
of,
the
yeah.
30 years of
Hanging on my back
TV
that I've been-
knowledge.
yeah.
And I just think it's a testament to like how good animation is getting. And I think that's what you should get from everything he's saying.
Okay.
I think it's how does art touch you and your specific experience. And I think Coy specifically, because of everything he's read and he loves, this is good.
Well, I mean, I see, like, you know, I think that Weasel is like, because he's an animal.
Yeah.
And, you know, like, there's already, like, you know, I think we see him not as this monster. He's like a little,
dog.
a
Yeah.
dog. A little rough around the edges, obviously. Hasn't been trained. Licks himself too much, maybe. But
Stinks. We always gotta
we
talk
know
about
he stinks.
He
We're
definitely
certain
stinks.
that he stinks. But he also is a lawyer.
I love that he is a human rights lawyer.
A human from the Innocence Project is coming in and being like, no, not my Weasel.
Do not talk
gonna
about
hold
John
you.
that way.
I'm
John
not gonna
Doe.
hold you though. I was like, I feel like the Innocence Project has like bigger fish to fry. Like I was like, immediately I
That's the
went
thing.
straight to like, is he human enough?
It's everyone's on the same level. You know what I mean?
I did very much love the idea. I'm a big girl on like themes and allegories, and I love looking at something that can allude to people just misjudging you because of the way that you look.
The way you act,
Particularly the
yeah.
police, right? We see the police come in there, and because of the way that Weasel looks, they're so quick to fire.
Yeah.
They're so quick to like be like, he's dangerous to these
Right.
children.
Also,
and
he's not a dog. You know,
he's
is
not a
weasel.
dog.
I love the parallel, and maybe I'm misreading or reading too much into it, Tyler, but I love that we have a story with Frankenstein, and it's Eric Frankenstein, but the Frankenstein myth happens to Weasel. The people, like the fire being started, the misinterpreted monster.
Yeah,
we literally
yeah.
have an allegory within the episode itself. One of the best of all time.
I wonder what he's dreaming about.
Probably just chasing squirrels.
Sean Gunn voices both G.I. Robot and Weasel.
Yeah.
Back to back, 2 great episodes where he gets to do something so completely different.
Yeah.
But both these characters are like, it's a nature versus nurture thing. Like,
Yeah.
how do, you know, where, you know, dogs, animals can be taught things, but like also their instincts take over. So like, I think that that's kind of an interesting element to it.
I agree. And finally, we get a big thing in this episode, which is Cersei's vision.
Yes.
And we get a lot of Easter eggs in it. I was kind of surprised that immediately Amanda Waller was like,
Yep.
man,
Right.
this is it. Do
Well,
you
it's
believe that vision is real?
I don't know. I mean, I guess I didn't really think about it that way. I mean,
Yeah.
to me, it's just like, I mean, I think, once again, the last thing I've heard is what I believe. So if that happened to me, I'd be like, oh shit. Yeah,
Right?
I mean,
But she's a liar. So it's like
Well,
someone
fair.
who's a liar and who was like just fighting you and your homies said, actually, I was fighting you and your homies for the fate of the world.
Right.
I would be like, Cap.
also, like, it's pretty overwhelming to have someone like give
go
a
into your
premonition
mind.
at that level. Yeah.
But I would
agree.
posit that Amanda Waller particularly is a great person to be like, hey, superheroes are gonna kill us all.
Yeah.
Because like what better weakness for Amanda Waller than like that thing I've always feared. So you're giving the person who's afraid of that very thing a vision of it. So that's why I'm like, I don't know what to trust because Amanda Waller's the exact person to tell that to.
I agree. Like, it's just her bias.
So wait,
Yeah.
so what are the Easter eggs in this vision? Because I
mean, first canon appearance.
right over my head.
For
Batman, Superman, with the new sigil. It's the first time we've seen it in the DCU. We get our first appearance of Batman and Wonder Woman in silhouette. We get Starfire in the background. We get, I believe, one of the Robins looked like a little tinge of yellow under his cape. We get Vigilante from Peacemaker. He appears, and Peacemaker is also in that rollout. So it's the first time we've seen in the new DCU these characters, but something big enough for the Titans and the Justice League conceptually to team up with Peacemaker and Vigilante.
So we don't know, but it's all
Yeah. Just a little bit.
And Starfire.
it's
Yeah.
all just
I guess
you
I have to
know, a
rewatch
vision.
this. Yeah.
We don't know if they'll ever show up. They may not, and that's why they were very vague.
Right, but it's still
it leaves
like
us room,
it shows the world. that
endless
exists.
possibilities.
Yeah,
I agree.
If the need comes up for this type of group again, I hope you'll be a part.
I didn't realize I had a choice.
I want to start talking about The Penguin, which wrapped a few weeks ago on Max, very much like an HBO crime drama. I think a lot of people compare it, I think, to the Sopranos, which I think is fair. I kind of see it more like the French Connection, William Friedkin's film from the 70s, like especially just like how the view of Gotham that we get in this show is like very much like elevated train tracks and like, you know, just kind of grime and dirt and coming out of the gutter in a way. What did you love about it? You said it's one of your favorite shows.
Yeah, I'm a big Batman fan. And I really loved seeing Gotham and it feeling like a character. I feel like the best Batman stories make Gotham their own character. Everyone compares it to The Sopranos. It reminds me of the 50 Cent's masterpiece, Power.
Okay.
Where it's like unintentionally funny. It's really about the city. It's really gritty and it's really about people who are bad, but you can root for.
Right.
Every episode was incredible. And also, I really loved that they had Renzi Felice's character. We're always so quick to be like, why are you a goon in Gotham? This is a great way to show us like how easy it is to fall into that life and how regular that life seems,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I mean, it's like the whole thing, like living inside of kind of Matt Reeves's, I would say, it's like an epic crime saga that starts with the Batman. Now we have the Penguin, and it sort of leads into the Batman 2, I assume. I'm not sure if that's been, how much of that has been talked about yet. But.
I mean, so they announced that there will be a new Batman. We're assuming because at the end of the series, they showed the bat signal.
The bat signal, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That will, because that's the big question. Where is Batman this whole series?
So for me, this felt like Breaking Bad, like as far as parallels for me, because I liked that we had the Jesse Pinkman and Renzi Felice, and that's similar to what you're saying. Like you always wonder how people fall into this way of life, and through Breaking Bad, we see the descent of Jesse Pinkman. We also have the descent of Walter White, and in this case, it's interesting because Oz, we find out worse things about him as it develops. So he, even through flashbacks, gets more contextualized and dark. But for me, the reason I love the world building and the connection between the Batman and the Penguin is it feels like a comic where you've got one line of comic book here and you've got one line here and they kind of interact, but they grow separately to build out a universe. So I personally, and we're going to talk about it, loved that the Batman physically did not appear, but his presence felt there. And the symbol of the bat signal made that presence a very literal at the end, but there was this entire percolating of everything's gone wrong, it just happened. We see Renzi's family go, Batman's busy. He's got stuff to do. And I get like he's one man doing a lot of stuff.
You talk about how like the presence of Batman is felt, and I think it wasn't, and I think that was intentional. So this is set. Did you see the Batman?
Yeah. So this is like a couple days after.
6 days after the Batman. So, you know, the Riddler, he kind of loses, right? The Riddler goes through his plan, the levees are down. And then nobody is tripping about Batman ever. Nobody's ever like, ooh, the bat.
Right.
Like, you know, they're doing whatever. And I was one of those people who's like, it doesn't make sense for the Batman to be involved. He's not in the know right now.
It's only been a week.
It's only been a week. But somewhere around the time that like Sophia's hanging people in the streets, you know, I was like, maybe he's like, at least the drifter should be investigating, right? Like, what the heck is going on? But like after I finished the series, because Lauren LaFranc is incredible. She told me, she said, Frankie, shut up. You're not a writer. And I was like, you're right, Lauren.
Showrunner, right?
The showrunner.
Yeah.
She didn't say that to me directly.
No,
she said it with her writing.
With her writing, yeah. She's
Stop
like,
complaining
I'm
about
in
Batman.
charge. Yeah. Well, no, I think it's really interesting that you compare it to Breaking Bad and like also The Sopranos. Like I think that like Tony Soprano and Walter White are like these kind of modern classical anti-heroes who you're really, really rooting for, despite the fact that they're doing things you aren't rooting for them to do. My question is the Penguin the hero of his own story?
No.
Absolutely not, which I love.
Well, do you think that he thinks he's the hero of his own
I
story?
definitely do. I agree. Like, I think with Walter White and even we could say Tony Soprano, it feels like they are anti-heroes, like they're trying to do their best. We see even as a child, the Penguin sucked. He's terrible. There's actually no development. He's not descending to getting worse.
But we realize the way it's told that he's been, but I love that we get the flashback so late. So it's narratively descending, but chronologically,
he's always been that. And I've never seen a character that's had no development that I liked so much.
You know what I like most about you, Oz? You are who you are. And you couldn't change if you tried.
Hey, that what makes me fun.
One of my favorite scenes is where Sophia is trying to cut off Francis's finger, his mother's finger. And she's like, at least lie about it. And he
Right.
cannot bring himself to say, yeah, I did this bad thing.
Killing his brothers.
Killing
right?
his
Yeah,
brothers
as a child.
as a child. And even when he talks to Vic and he kills Vic, he says, I love you too much, which I don't think is true, right? He throws away his ID. And when name recognition is the biggest thing that he thinks about, he robs that poor boy. I think he was afraid of Vic, and he was like, I just watch all these underlings kill their bosses. I need to get rid of you. But in his head, and the story he'll tell from then on, I had to get rid of the boy that I love, this son that I had.
Right. It's all self-preservation no matter what he's saying or he tells himself. So were you rooting for Sophia then?
That's what made the story so good, right?
Yeah.
Of course. I was obsessed with her.
Well, Kristen Milotti, like, you can't not be obsessed with her. She's so... Like, Colin Farrell is great.
Yeah, but she is hypnotized. I wish her all the Emmys, everything.
Yeah.
I met her right after the big Penguin panel at San Diego Comic-Con. She had on this beautiful outfit, these huge heels. Like, it was obviously uncomfortable. Like, the better the outfit, the more uncomfortable.
Sure.
And then I saw her at this party, and she was wearing sweats. And it was like a nice party. And she was like, girl, I'm tired.
Yeah.
And I was like, I will die for you. Like, what are we saying?
And I love that we got her story told not exactly chronologically too, so we could uncover how much we connected with her throughout. Like that episode 4 is one of the best episodes of TV. Like her deep dive, that 3 acts of really unraveling Sophia, because you've been following the Penguin. The show's called The Penguin, and then all of a sudden you're like, wait, do I have a different protagonist now? And I think that's so unique in TV to have 3 leads and 2 leads and then a supporting lead with Renzi, and how much you care about all of them because they give you the time to really invest. And before we move on to the next segment of a close, because I want to talk her outfit specifically, the world building, having actual dates, I think humanizes the story so much, because the only October 31st that falls, on a Thursday ever in our lifetimes that's in an election year was this year. I dressed as the Drifter for Batman because it's the one time you're allowed to do it, because it literally lines up. But I love that we know it's a certain amount of days, and I love that we have at the end of the Batman, he says it's this date, and I'm assuming we can continue that trend in Matt Reeves' universe and that epic crime saga. Something about that makes it feel like our world because, there's a specific time, a place, and it'll give us a scope of how much the Batman's been active in a certain amount of time. And that to me feels like the Long Halloween. That feels like something Calendar Man could get brought into. That feels like something that's very detective Batman just by knowing the date, and that makes the Penguin feel more real because we know when and how.
I agree. I think it's also like the set feels very real. You lived in New York for a little bit, right?
Yeah, I lived there for 8 years.
Did you like travel to Brooklyn?
Oh, I lived in Brooklyn.
Oh, you lived in Brooklyn?
I lived in Brooklyn and Manhattan.
Okay, good. So please correct me or give me the information, but like the beautiful part about DC is these cities don't quite exist in our world.
Right.
But we see from Victor's ID that Gotham is in New Jersey.
He's a New Jersey resident.
I crashed out. I crashed out because of a couple of reasons. It's clear that a lot of it is Brooklyn. Let's look at where Victor lived, and he's looking into the city across the water.
Yeah.
That ain't in Jersey. That's Brooklyn. Okay, his house, the way it was styled, the way that it looked.
Yeah, it felt very Bushwick, like South Williamsburg, especially with the elevated train. Like the JMZ. I mean, that was the JMZ to me.
That's what I'm saying. But I think that's the beautiful part about Gotham is that like it means something different with each like era, right? There's the Tim Burton era and how that looks.
Well, I will say before I moved to New York, I lived in Chicago.
Yeah.
And that was when like I was living there when The Dark Knight was filming. The Nolan movies to me are very Chicago heavy. Like Chicago's known for its architecture, a lot of like early 20th century like skyscrapers and Art Deco, which I think is reminiscent of the Tim Burton kind of vision that is like very German expressionist and like dark shadows and weird angles. But again, like grounds Gotham into like a realism.
I think what's cool about that is it gives you the opportunity to have like in a comic where there's an artist that has a vision and you have a writer that has a vision and each comic having a different feel. I love that Gotham feels like the director's take on how they feel about Gotham. Like New York City proper, I think some people refer to like the title of Gotham is slang even for that. But your identifier of Gotham is to you, New York, because of your love and association. But for me, like the...
and also the markers, the
well,
city
but that's in our universe. So in
Yeah.
our universe, that is what that river is visually to us. But in like, you know, the animated series, I see it as that like really strong brutalism and Gothic architecture. To me, that's a little closer to Chicago. And Matt Reeves sees it as Jersey, at least in The Penguin. So I love that we might get a new altogether style of Gotham in James Gunn's that is like, who knows? And that's the power of a fictional city, because it's whatever the darkest version of whatever they want to express is.
Right.
I will say the accents, which are done so well,
Yeah.
are a little bit more Jersey leaning. What I loved about the accent and the work is you can tell who's from where, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, it definitely
it's
shows
different,
the social
right?
class. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, even like Sophia's like it is more has more of an Italian
and it's upper crust
spice to it. Yeah.
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
like Victor is, I don't know if he's, he's like Dominican and Mexican. So there's a specific accent in New York of Dominicans who, even if their language is if English is their first language, that they have like a little twang to it. You'll hear it with like Cardi B and stuff like that. He has that version of the accent. It painted their connection. And even when we see Vic connect with Oz, it's kind of through their shared language.
Yeah.
Because Oz also speaks Spanish, El Rada. But also, like, we see those parallels where he becomes their Robin. And that's what I really love. I feel like the Matt Reeves world and Lauren LaFranc was able to really play homage to a lot of the comic books. When Vic and Oz meet, it's very similar to Jason Todd and Batman, who's one of the Robins.
Jason Todd is
Jason Todd is one of the Robins, and he gets caught boosting off the Batmobile, which is this big gaudy car,
bold
right?
choice, yeah.
And Vic does the same thing, right? This Maserati is clearly someone who is not to be trifled with, and he still has to do it out of desperation.
Right.
And we see the same thing with Sophia, where she becomes this chaos demon, right? She doesn't care about money or status anymore, and that's so similar to the Joker. So in some ways, we see that like the Penguin is supposed to be a stand-in for the Batman in this story, and then his Joker is Sophia, and I thought that was so cool.
Right, and her relationship with her psychiatrist is very,
which is very
Harley Quinn.
I mean, I got that.
The crowbar.
I got that.
And the crowbar the whole time. The crowbar is what kills Robin, and they use the crowbar throughout this season.
Yeah.
So that we talk about like the voting to kill Robin concept. That was literally Joker had Robin's life in his hands, and the audience voted who killed. The moment they left a cliffhanger of Sophia, our Joker, with a crowbar in his hand, looking at Renzi, our Robin, it was such a great way for comic fans to feel validated, but also a brand new story that people could feel connection. Because the whole time I was like, Julian Rush's character feels Harley Quinn-esque, but not too much, and like they have just enough of a nod that I think is so special.
Yeah.
As our cinemaphile, I have to ask you, what are your final thoughts on it? Like, now that it's done, you've seen it all.
I think it looked incredible, and like it is, you know, I think TV is becoming so much more like film these days, but like this didn't feel to me like it was what's supposed to be a 2-hour movie stretched into 8 episodes. You know, like a lot of TV can feel that way. This felt like completely accurately plotted.
I agree.
As a television show, you know, a complete story.
Yeah, I agree. I absolutely love this show. To me, it's what art is about. It is so stylized. It's so beautiful. The original score is so disturbing and anxiety inducing. The fashion is beautiful. The actors all came to fucking work. Like, And Coy, what are your final thoughts?
As a comic fan, it made Gotham a character in a way that I've always wanted. As a comic fan, it let the runtime develop the henchmen archetypes, the lackeys, the villains. Arkham felt real. It felt like I'm gonna look at Batman differently, because when I know the Batman is sending someone to Arkham, I know the horrors of Arkham in a way that I haven't really felt in other adaptations as strongly. I feel like I know the crime families. I feel like I got to see Tim Sale art come to life. I feel like through Jeff Loeb's writing and Tim Sale's art, I knew the Falcones, but now I feel like I want to visit Gotham briefly in the daytime. Like, I feel like I can have this world feel tangible, and I think the long form use bridging the Batman 1 and 2 means every punch is going to land twice when I see Penguin hit in the face, because as reprehensible as he is, I grew to care and hate him. So when I see Batman fight him, it's going to feel so much more lived in. So it's the perfect way to feel like a shared universe of a comic, and it's the perfect way to make Gotham feel as big of a character as Batman, because if Batman's willing to sacrifice everything, I better know and love Gotham, and I feel like I do. Even the explosion the Riddler did in the film, we saw that from Batman's POV looking down, because he's still a billionaire, he's still comfortable, that's the whole concept. Now we know that the Riddler harmed the very people he set out to save, the lower class, the people that couldn't escape. Seeing it from his POV, the Batman is different. Seeing it from his POV, Gotham will be different, and it's a perfect storytelling.
Hey, don't do that. The man was speaking. Let him finish.
I apologize. Please.
Well, let's leave all that doom and gloom and sad stuff in the past, and let's get festive. As you can see, we got everything dolled up.
Yeah, it's holiday season.
It's holidays, and what better way to talk about the holidays than to talk about a holiday film?
A classic.
A comfort film.
Yeah, I would say, every year we have this argument. Is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
Yeah.
Is Die Hard the best Christmas? No.
So,
like National Lampoon, Christmas Story, whatever. No. The best Christmas movie is Batman Returns.
Batman Returns.
The second Tim Burton movie. It's set at Christmas. Christmas is integral to the plot.
Fair.
There's there's a big attack at in, I don't know, Gotham Times Square or whatever that might be. Christopher Walken plays Max Schreck, who is like a big bad businessman. I mean, he has a department store, which is sort of like Macy's, the Macy's. And of course, to bring it back to the Penguin, we have Danny DeVito as the Penguin, a very
iconic,
less grounded, less gritty realism than Colin Farrell brought, but also terrifying and a villain.
I feel like when it dropped, though, that was the most grounded we were getting.
Oh, for sure.
And so, for that, we were watching, we were like, this is dark.
I mean, that was like the most anticipated movie of the year for me. Like,
really?
I was so obsessed with Batman at the time. And I was so excited. I remember my grandmother being like, "Did you see Batman's back yet?" And I was like, "Not yet." But no. And then, of course, my favorite part is Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman.
Yeah.
Again, I think that's an early example of a comic book villain in a comic book movie who lived in the gray area. She wasn't necessarily a bad guy. I mean, she was sort of, you're rooting for her because Max Schreck, her boss, almost kills her, throws her out a window, but she has 9 lives and she keeps on kicking. But then she's also battling against Batman. She's a love interest at the same time.
Yeah.
So I just loved all of that. And also I was excited for a girl villain. I have to be honest.
Yeah. And she was fabulous too.
Yeah. She looked incredible. She was beautiful.
I agree. I watched it. We watch it every year.
Oh, same.
Batman.
Yeah.
And I also feel like Batman and Robin is a Christmas film. I was a child when all these came out. Someone came out a little before my time.
Yeah.
But I'm from a Batman household. So there was a moment in time where I would watch the 3 of them consecutively, every night, and I couldn't go to bed until one of them came on.
Okay.
But yeah, I found Batman Returns when I first watched it very scary.
Oh yeah, I mean, I remember. I mean, so I was 9 years old when it came out, and I think my parents were nervous because Danny DeVito as the Penguin bites a guy's nose off.
And he's kind of gross
He's
in
disgusting.
it too. He's a little
disgusting.
gross. But Batman and Robin, maybe because of the inclusion of Mr. Freeze
And Winter,
cold, and
snow.
just the way they painted that world felt very Christmas-like to me. Even though I just think it was cold.
Yeah,
You know?
I think he just made it cold.
But would you give it a pass? Would you call it a Christmas movie?
I would have to revisit.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it in a while.
Now we can call it, because this is a holiday episode, it's a holiday movie.
Yeah, sure, why not?
It's all encompassing.
They take place in the cold.
Right.
Yeah.
Of all winter holidays.
There you go.
That's my story. And I'm
My
sticking
favorite
to
thing
it.
about Batman Returns is personally Michelle Pfeiffer's string lights. That is why I wore this today, because the string lights to me always that's what I see as Christmas, and that really connects me to the seasons. That element has always been the world.
Her decor.
Oh my
Her
God.
decor.
Yeah.
She was I love the way she spoke. I love the patent leather. Not to be replicated. It's beyond reproach.
Right. Also, a really sexy come on is the mistletoe line.
Oh,
Mistletoe can be deadly if you. How does it go?
Oh, I don't know the exact quote, but
damn, I should have.
I've never had that much Riz in my life, so
Yeah,
I
that is
wouldn't
so-
even commit that to memory.
I can't even remember it because it was too much Riz in movie. Like it was just
Yeah.
immaculate
Yeah.
delivery. I can't contain it.
It was definitely Michelle Pfeiffer's moment. Like that was her golden age. I mean,
She
she's
learned to
still
whip.
incredible, but
Yeah, have you ever
Have you
seen
seen that footage?
Yeah,
Where she's
the
decapitating those
the
mannequins?
behind the scenes footage.
yeah, and she did that in one take. Wow,
Terrifying.
It's
I love
like
that
and
you
like
know all
just the
these
crew
facts.
clap it is like warms my cold bitter
cinema.
heart.
And people always try to talk down on superhero films.
Yeah.
Like we talked about it with with the Christopher Reeve story,
Yeah,
where
yeah,
they're
yeah.
like, but I'm like, these are actors doing real work,
Yeah.
physical work. Like we're just seeing so much from them, and I really like it.
Yeah.
I've got an
But-
important update.
Yes.
Mistletoe can be deadly if you eat it, but a kiss can be even deadlier if you mean it.
That's
wow.
it.
Would that work on you,
Oh yeah.
Coy?
It just worked on me and I just read it.
It just so we'll try that for next time.
Coy, but you probably know a lot more of the deeper dives.
So-
of how holidays have been celebrated in the DC world.
We need one for the Christmas break, for the holiday break.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's
yeah.
get some recommendations for the holiday break.
You guys did movies, and I wanted to give a little more comic-y centric stuff. I got a
Robust.
movie, and then I've got a show, and then I got some comics.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I'm going to go quick, but I got 5 things I think are pretty essential. First up is last year's Merry Little Batman. I think this movie deserves more love. I loved it so dearly. Merry Little Batman is such a great story of Batman and Damian Wayne, and Damian Wayne is the Robin we're getting in James Gunn's DCU. A lot of people don't know Damian Wayne. He's the biological son of Bruce Wayne and Talia al Ghul, so it's a really cool way to meet our new Robin and to meet Damian Wayne in a fun Christmas adventure, and it feels so family holly jolly. It's like a romp. It's a really good movie just in general, but it's a legit Christmas movie. So Merry Little Batman,
Is it animated?
it's animated.
Okay.
And it's delightful. And then this is one of my favorite episodes of another of my favorite episodes of superhero TV. You'll appreciate where it came from. It is the second episode ever. It is season 1, episode 2 of Batman the Animated Series. It came out in 1992. It is Christmas with the Joker.
Okay.
This is essential, one, because Jingle Bells, Batman Smells, Robin Laid an Egg, like that all came from this era. And I think it came from this episode.
Wait.
Yeah.
Jingle
No.
Bells.
Batman the Animated Series
That
has
did not
impacted your
originate
life.
from
I
the
don't think it's in the
animated
episode.
Okay.
I think the zeitgeist, it elevated into the pop culture lexicon with this episode.
I
You
feel
will
like
be
I was saying
floored.
that before, but
I don't know how to check the tape on that.
The
Yeah.
animated series came out in the early 90s.
I know I was in kindergarten '88.
You were saying it
I
in
think we-
kindergarten?
Jingle Bells, Batman Smells, Robin Laid an Egg.
What
Yeah,
a,
we'll be a
what
lost
a,
alien
what
Joker
a bad noodle.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it originated somewhere, but yeah, I feel like that. I don't know.
Jingle bells, Batman smelt, Robin laid an egg. The Batmobile lost the wheel, and the Joker got away.
This episode is, to me, what makes Batman such a Christmas character. And
Okay.
that is because this is the second episode ever of Batman the Animated Series, first Mark Hamill Joker.
Okay.
So this is formative for everything because not only was it the show that is really such an established Batman, it's all set at Christmas. There's a lot of really iconic imagery. It's our first ever Mark Hamill Joker, and it's him in this space. So highly recommend people go back, rediscover episode 2 called Christmas with the Joker. And then some fun comic recommendations real quick are Lobo Paramilitary Xmas Special. It is Lobo fighting St. Nicholas himself.
Who is Lobo?
Okay, so Lobo is a Zarnian. A Zarnian is an alien race.
What's a Zarnian?
This is Zarnian. Like,
we
let's
need to
start
slow
at
it
the
down here.
beginning.
Okay, so the Zarnians are a race of aliens that are warlike and always trying to accomplish and take over others. He
Okay.
is the last Zarnian because he killed all the other Zarnians.
Okay.
And there's some continuities. Recent Superman, he discovers there's more Zarnians. That's a longer conversation. But
Okay.
for years, the last Zarnian is Lobo, and he's a physical equal to Superman. Like,
Okay.
he's a physical equal to Superman in his ability to fight, his strength, and all those ways, but he just loves chaos and nihilism. So he's got like a giant chopper. He like cruises through space on a motorcycle, and he's like a Hell's Angel as a character.
And he goes against
And he
Santa
fights Superman.
Claus.
In this, he takes on Santa Claus. So imagine Santa's sleigh via chopper in space with a Zarnian, all black and white makeup.
Is like
long
Rudolph shooting lasers from his nose? Like,
Oh,
how does that work?
He actually has a long hook, and he hooks Santa with this giant hook. You'll see. I'll
It's
show
outrageous.
you. It's
Does
amazing.
Santa win? Not to spoil it, but does Santa
it doesn't
win?
go well for Santa.
Damn.
I know. Those a lot of
That's dark
stockings
as
go
hell.
unstuffed.
Yeah. When was the last time you spoke to Santa?
Well, it's been a long time.
So,
Yeah,
know?
fair. But I'm not rooting against him.
You're not rooting. You're like, he's not your enemy.
No. He's just generally a cool
He didn't
guy.
give me the PlayStation
He does some
1
breaking
when I
and
so you
asked
got a
entering.
him.
vendetta for a little
Yeah,
while.
yeah. I asked him for a PlayStation 1 20 years ago.
Oh,
and
fuck that.
Yeah,
So
you know what I'm saying? So, like, let Lobo wash up Santa.
You're
That's
Team
fine.
Lobo in this fight.
Yeah.
All right. So I recommend that because Lobo's a great character to discover, and he's literally fighting Santa. What a fun time. And then last two are one called Peacemaker Tries Hard. Peacemaker Tries Hard came out last year, and it is a book that feels just like Peacemaker Season 1. It's written like John Cena's take on Peacemaker. It feels like a James Gunn story in the book, and it is one of the most fun romps in short form. It's only like 5 or 6 issues. In it, he has a dog that gets kidnapped, and he named the dog Bruce Wayne. So by a series of miscommunications, people think Bruce Wayne is kidnapped, but it's his dog Bruce Wayne that has been kidnapped, and hijinks ensue because of a missing Bruce Wayne. But it feels like a good gateway into Season 2 if you're excited for Peacemaker this upcoming year. We get new Peacemaker, this comic, to bridge the gap over the holiday. And the last one is Mr. Miracle, because I feel like the holidays are really hard for a lot of people, and the holidays can be like overwhelming. And Mr. Miracle is from 2017. It's Tom King and Mitch Gerads, and it's basically his power is to escape anything, and he wants to escape the horrors of the world sometimes. And it's a very uplifting in a sad way. And I feel like the holidays are that for some people. So Mr. Miracle, the paramilitary Xmas special from Lobo, Peacemaker Tries Hard, Christmas with the Joker, and Merry Little Batman.
Joker here. Greetings, Gotham, and Merry Christmas. I hope you're watching Batman. This one's for you.
I heard
Yeah.
that we found out where
We got the fact
Batman
check.
fell. We got the fact check.
I've been
Yeah.
corrected so aggressively.
Wow. Look, the tables have just turned.
The tables.
The experts.
Go ahead, get to that.
Yeah, the
Go
experts
into the
have
desk.
changed position. I'm getting the seat at the table.
Go ahead
next.
and fold that laptop.
1960s, I've been thwarted. It was 3 decades prior.
Yeah,
I have
yeah.
failed this city.
So Adam West's Batman, probably the first real popular televised Batman. That's what started the trend of Batman spells.
I'm eating
Jingle
my
bells,
feelings.
Batman spells. That's so funny.
Well, that's all we have for today. And thank you all for joining us for the DC Studio Showcase. This is always so much fun.
Yeah.
We will be streaming new episodes every other Friday on Max, or you can watch new episodes on YouTube, on the Max's YouTube
page. Yeah.
Yeah, and people can listen to us anywhere there are podcasts, which is super cool.
Yeah.
So Apple Podcasts, Spotify, we're going to be on there.
Yeah. Or you could do both. Listen and watch.
Right? Because we look like you guys should see how snazzy we look if you're listening.
Yeah.
And see our decor because we worked really hard on this.
Yeah.
You know,
The
but
tinsel looks good. And those cookies are going to go
we're
right
gonna,
in my mouth.
But thank you all for joining us. I'm nerd commentator Frankie Smith.
And I'm entertainment journalist Tyler Coates.
I've been your comic correspondent, Coy Jandro, and if you want to check out any of those comics, I recommend it. And there are so many. Check out the DC Universe Infinite app, which is DC's subscription service, which is amazing. I highly recommend it. Or you can check out your local comic shop that has tons of comics that you'll enjoy for the holiday season, and I hope you enjoy.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.